Let's get into Smackdown. Oh, brother. Okay. So, before we get into Smackdown, we got two news and notes. One from Ari Emanuel blaming Vince McMahon. If you haven't seen that get debunked yet, we're going to talk about that. Also, Lacey Evans put out a statement upon leaving WWE that I think might be of interest to you. So, we're going to go through both of those things. First, let's start with the Ari Emanuel comment. So the dirt sheets told me that Ari Emanuel was blaming Vince McMahon for the stock going down, and that Vince was on his way out. That Vince's boss was going to run him out of town. There was gifs of what was that casino where Nikki got beat with bats and left. And there was like this idea that Ari Emanuel was stabbing Vince in the back. He was going to make Vince think he was made, only to shoot him in the back of the head. But this is what Ari Emanuel really said. I would like to say to you, there's plenty of interest in Raw right now. I know people are like, NBC is out of the mix, and that's why it, being the stock, went down. I think there's three things that happened. One, the reason the stock is down is they thought Raw was the best package. I saw a 40% increase, which was in line with expectations. Two, the PFL situation. And three, probably Vince in our deal. Wanted to be able to put, at any point in time, his stock. He's 78 years old. He's been working at this for decades and decades. So I think those three back-to-back issues. So, and he's talking about why the stock went down. Well, the stock took a huge dip upon Saudi Arabia investing $100 million into the Pro Fight League, which is a competitor to the UFC. Stock went down huge when that happened. And then Vince, there was some chitter chatter about Vince selling some stock. Recently, he's going to cash out for about $3 billion. And the stock went down again. And that is what Ari Emanuel was talking about. He's saying that the threat of Vince McMahon selling his stock has dropped the stock. So what he's saying is not that Vince is a problem, but that Vince is still an old man and could cash out at any time. And people are concerned about the current leadership of WWE. So he was not blaming Vince. Vince is not on the outs. He's not being fired. The idea that that Vince has been replaced on creative is like that happened over a year ago. You know, when he made his triumphant return in January, and he was only working on the board. And then when he came back in April, he said, Tony, and then Nick Khan said it, and Triple H said it, and pretty much the talent agreed that Triple H was running the show. So the idea that people are just going to start doing this now, where they're going to start trying to take any little thing and stretch it. But if you hadn't heard anybody debunk this, that's what it was about. It was not about Vince McMahon being blamed for things going wrong. It was 100% the idea that the stock went down because Vince could sell his stock later. All right, here's the second thing. Let's talk about Lacey Evans. This was an interesting piece of business. I'm not going to read the whole thing. In fact, I'm not going to read it at all. I'm going to instead skim the thing. That way, I can cut down on the amount of time I'm doing this. Plus, I don't think you guys care that much about it. All right, so she apparently did a podcast with Teddy Long. She says that the lifestyle for WWE wasn't for her. She's a business owner. She owns investment properties. She has sunk a good deal of money from her wrestling career into her various businesses. And she says that her priorities are different from a lot of pro wrestlers. So she says, where my priorities in comparison to a lot of professional wrestlers are way different, night and day. I think I was blessed to start that business venture with a full-blown awesome husband and relationship. I've already had a baby. I was a business owner making six figures before I even joined. I took a pay cut to be able to try and use the platform to make a difference for my community. It was a lot in that regard because my priorities and idea in life was not running on red carpets and sniffing people's asses for opportunities. I'm not cut out for that, unfortunately. So she's talking about basically having another interest rather than being an ass kisser, which I love it when wrestlers are not marks. I'm telling you, it is really fun stuff comes out of their mouth when they're not marks. But what she's basically saying is, hey, I have other things to do. You know, I have other hobbies, interests. I have things that I need to do. I don't have time to do the red carpets and all that kind of stuff, which is a good point. I mean, her being a pro wrestler wasn't even the first thing she did. Of course, she was in the military first, but she was doing other things too. So this was kind of I wouldn't say a side job. And it wouldn't be the first time that a wrestler was on TV for a long time and didn't consider wrestling to be sort of their main source of income. I think the Godfather, Charles Wright, he also felt the same way. I mean, this guy was on TV my whole childhood. And then you find out when I became an adult and listened to his interviews that he was actually just kind of doing wrestling to hang out with his friends. He didn't really care that much about wrestling. So the fact that he didn't really make it anywhere, he didn't really care. So Lacey Evans continues, and she says, quote, there's no hard feelings at WWE. It's great. That lifestyle is for people that when they hold that title above their head, that's what makes them feel significant or feel like they've accomplished something. Me being able to make my kids food or cook for my old man, that's, to me, is worth all the weight in gold. So family and being able to take care of herself and her children, that is what matters to her. Not necessarily representing the company, not exactly being a champion in WWE. And yeah, you could take that. It was kind of a dig at some of the people who may have impeded her rise. It kind of felt like a Charlotte dig to me. But at the same time, I was like, well, people have different priorities, which she basically said. And she said, hey, look, I spent 7 years in WWE. I made as much money as I was going to make. She's got, I think, 2 or 3 kids now. She's opened up some more businesses. She has other things she wants to do. I don't think that's been a problem at all. It was suggested that maybe AEW was better for her in terms of schedule, but there's no way she's going to AEW because that audience does not like her. But I appreciated the realness of Lacey Evans, because to be a success in wrestling is typically to be world champion, and to get that to that point, you do have to do a certain level of brown nosing. And she's saying, well, I'm not here for that. I really don't care about that. I'm kind of just in it for the money and the opportunity to spread awareness and all this kind of stuff, which is fine. I don't know how the Sassy Southern Belle was supposed to spread awareness for her community, but okay, I guess she wanted to get around to that eventually. But I don't have a problem with it. Not everybody's meant to be the standard bearer for your company. Like I said before, some people are just in it for the cash and then they get out. And I think that's healthy, actually. Making a healthy break from wrestling seems fair to me. That's good. I guess there is one last thing to discuss. The lawsuit that WWE faced from the woman who stole the chair. Her name is, I think, what is it? Brittney Abrahams? Yeah, Brittney Abrahams. Her lawsuit has been dismissed voluntarily, which means she withdrew the lawsuit. And it's with cause, so they're not going to be able to bring this thing up. Well, Brandon Thurston, of course, reached out to her attorneys to ask the question about whether there was a settlement or anything of that nature. And he was told that the matter has been resolved amicably, which means she probably got something. But ultimately, she got busted stealing a chair. And I think most people, well, it was a WrestleMania chair. I'm not going to go through the lawsuit completely, but there's a video on it. She absolutely got busted stealing a chair and got fired for it. and then started trying to make all these excuses that all these various writers and everybody were racist and all. I mean, typical stuff, right? All right, so it's gone. She probably got her couple of bucks, which ain't gonna get her too far in New York, especially once her attorneys eat it all up. But this was basically settlement bait anyway. I mean, these discrimination lawsuits, that's what they're for. You know, people file these lawsuits. It's almost impossible to win them if you're the company. How do you win a discrimination lawsuit when they can just literally make up anything, and pretty much anything and everything is discrimination? You know? So ultimately, she probably got something and it's over. So there that go. Okay, now let's get into SmackDown. Good. John Cena starts the show, but he's interrupted by Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has been world champion for 1,139 days. Has it really been that long? It's felt like it's been longer than that. John Cena responded by saying he's not out there to challenge Roman. He said the 1,139 days as champion is the greatest run in history, and said that it's earned. And he's not out there to challenge him because he hasn't earned it. But he knows somebody who has. And he introduces LA Knight. So LA Knight comes out, gets a great response. Roman and LA Knight really have not crossed paths. So this is the first time they've ever crossed paths. And LA Knight asked him if he was pissing his pants yet. And Roman just kind of looked at him like, And then he starts talking about how things have changed since Roman went on leave. So Roman said, look, I'm very proud of you. What you got going on is good. But what makes you think you can hang with me? Who do you think you are? So then LA Knight responds, talking like that is a good way to get yourself discussed in the past tense. So I said he was the fastest rising star in WWE. Then he immediately gets decked by Jimmy Uso. And Roman is looking absolutely perturbed as Jimmy Uso attacks. So LA Knight immediately pops up, decks Jimmy Uso, throws him over the top rope. Roman is eyeing this LA Knight guy, and Cena's in the corner, just making sure nobody else jumps in. Solo's there, and Solo and Roman decide to powder. Outside the ring, Roman tells Solo to go handle it. So Solo gets on the ring apron and mouths that he wanted to fight LA Knight tonight. So LA Knight says, well, for anybody who doesn't speak moron, he says he wants to fight me tonight. So he agreed to fight him tonight. Really strong opening segment. I felt like they kind of gave it away a little early, though. I know they were still building up to the main event, but I still felt like they kind of gave that away a little early. Of course, there was an excellent shot of Roman Reigns being in LA Knight's glasses, where you can see the reflection of Roman in his glasses. That was a really great shot. Really good camera work. Hey, Tony. No. Tony, how about that? You know, they're actually doing good camera stuff here. Anyway, solid enough opening segment. I thought it was really good. Probably could have moved this a little bit later in the show, but you know, why bury the lead, right? So Roman is backstage with Jimmy Uso, and Jimmy Uso is on the couch, and Roman is sitting there. They're not addressing the elephant in the room, which is why Jimmy is back in the bloodline. They're not addressing that at all. I'm sure that's going to come back up. But right now, Roman wants to know what the hell Jimmy is doing. Like, what are you doing? Like, why did you do what you did out there? So then Jimmy is like, I'm you. I mean your playbook. I saw it didn't look right. I called an audible. Oos. It wasn't looking right. I called an audible. So Roman was like, who's the quarterback? And then Jimmy was like, you, but I'm like the backup quarterback. And then Roman was looking like, what is this fool talking about? So, so he was like, all right, so if you was the quarterback, what would your play be? What would you want to do? He was like, I get Jay. And Roman was like, Jay is old news. We don't like Jay. We don't need Jay. Then he starts talking about Jay. Jay got Cody the tag team titles and said that every day that Jay is a tag team champion is a slap in the face to their family. And Jamie's like, but I don't want you to get slapped in the face, oos. I was like, what the hell? So, so Roman says, all right, so you're going to handle it. You're going to take care of that. And then Jimmy like, yep. And then he Yeet. And he fist bumps Roman, and Roman's like, I don't like that. I don't like the yeet. I don't like that. And so they have another segment after Kevin Owens is announced to be the newest member of SmackDown. Roman Reigns is once again backstage to like, what in the hell? Kevin Owens is back. You got Jey Uso running around on my show. Kevin Owens is running around on my show. Cody Rhodes is running around on this show. And Jimmy Uso was kicked back, drinking sparkling water. And Roman is like, what is going on? Like, I thought didn't we discuss this? Didn't you say you was going to go handle it? You was going to run the play? Who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback? And then Jimmy's just sitting there. And for some reason, his IQ points dropped like 50 points, where he looks like he needs adult supervision. He's just looking like, what do I do now? I'm the backup quarterback. I'm like, oh my God, why is he all of a sudden he started? So Jimmy has to go run the play from what we were told. That's what he was going to do. And apparently he missed running the play because they didn't do anything. After Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes defeated Burnt Sienna, Grayson Waller, and Austin Theory in a pretty solid tag team match. I don't want to skip over this match, mainly because Cody insists on trying to break his own neck to do this Cody 1D thing. Cody Cutter 1D combination move that he keeps falling on his neck. I don't know why they can't get the timing right on that thing. They need to work on it or something, because it is not working out in terms of Cody falling on his head. Anyway, the Bloodline met them in the aisleway. So it leads to Jimmy and Jay kind of being squared up, and Roman getting in Cody Rhodes' face. Very interesting. Roman was mouthing words to Cody, and it was a very tense segment with Nick Aldis standing in between them, trying to get them back. We're going to talk about Nick Aldis too, for sure. And all of a sudden, we kind of just moved on past this. So Solo and Jimmy didn't handle the Cody and Jay problem. Interesting. Instead, Solo went and had his match with LA Knight. So, solid enough match between Solo and LA Knight. I actually liked it. One of the LA Knight's better outings. Using Solo as the sort of setup guy for Roman. Okay. But he needs to have like his own stuff, I think. Anyway, LA Knight wins. John Cena took out Jimmy Uso to prevent them from cheating, and LA Knight wins with the BFT. After the match, Roman spears LA Knight and leaves him laying in the ring. Not much. They didn't go off the air hot. They kind of went off with some kind of mid-heat. I would have wanted a stronger go-home segment, but this was a really strong episode of SmackDown. But just the one spear, I guess it's fine to let you know that LA Knight has been elevated to his new position of being able to challenge Roman Reigns. He has no chance of winning. Nobody does until WrestleMania, at least. But I noticed that Roman only carrying one title now. I heard that he was going to retire the other belt in honor of Bray Wyatt, and apparently they've actually done that. Okay, so now he just has the gold belt, and that's it. That's fine. The John Cena, I wonder how far they're going to go with his, with him being the training wheels for LA Knight. Because that's basically what he is right now, is he's the training wheels. He's there to make sure LA Knight stays over. And he's there to watch LA Knight's back because, the Bloodline are treacherous and evil and stuff. How long is they going to have him out there doing that? I'm guessing it's going to be through Crown Jewel. So that means is John Cena not going to wrestle on that show, but instead going to be like an LA Knight's corner. And just to make sure he gets a fair shot. I mean, that could work. Theoretically, it could work in storyline. But I think most people will feel gypped if John Cena's on the show and not wrestling. I mean, this ain't NXT, for Christ's sake. LA Knight don't need a mentor. Him and John Cena are like, basically, they could have went to school together. They're in the same age group. There's no way John Cena's going to be like the mentor, the big brother, the LA Knight. What's the age difference? Was probably what, 14 months maybe? It's not that much. So LA Knight pretty much can handle this thing himself, but they're starting to have smarter baby faces. So they're thinking the baby faces are working together. The bloodline, they work together, but now they need baby faces that actually work together to give each other an opportunity. So this is going to be fine. I love the idea of LA Knight and Roman Reigns. It's a huge match, biggest match of LA Knight's career. People think that he should win. You're crazy. You don't give this to 40-year-old LA Knight. You just don't. He is the top babyface. So if he were to win, that would actually be okay. But I personally just don't think that it's a smart decision. It's just a personal thing. But I don't dislike LA Knight or anything like that. Jimmy Uso. I don't know what's going on with this guy, man. Him saying that he's basically the backup quarterback, like when Roman's not there, he's going to call the plays, and Roman telling him, like, you don't call audibles, I call audibles. You know, we're still telling the same story that we've been telling about Jimmy Uso thinking that he's the tribal chief, thinking he's the man. And now he's been told absolutely upfront to stop doing what he's doing. And he's still kind of doing what he's doing. He's telling Solo what to do. You know, he's slacking off. You know, of course, the elephant in the room is that he kicked Roman Reigns in the face. How is he back in the bloodline? But I'm really guessing that we're leading up to that point. And that right now it's beneficial for Jimmy to be a member of the bloodline. He's useful to Roman. But when he stops being useful, I'm sure Roman will magically remember that Jimmy kicked him in the face and he don't like Jimmy anyway. But right now, Roman has seen that he has enemies all over the place on SmackDown because now Kevin Owens is there. Cody can show up whenever he wants. Jay can show up whenever he wants. So he's kind of like, what's going on here? You know, he needs help. So it makes sense that he would put his differences aside with Jimmy, at least temporarily, until which time he doesn't need Jimmy anymore. Then he's going to kick his shit in, which is what I expect to occur, by the way. So the bloodline stuff was okay. It was kind of light. To build up, all this build up for Roman's big return, and he was really only in one segment and a couple of backstage segments. And there were backstage comedy segments too, where, you know, him trying to get into the mind of Jimmy Uso, and he didn't really interact with Paul Heyman. You know, he didn't give like an update of where he been. Like nobody asked the question like where the hell he been or nothing. But I'm interested in the LA Knight Roman Reigns match. I like that idea. All right, so let's move on. Pretty Deadly defeat the Brawling Brutes. Meh. I like Pretty Deadly. I'm tired of the Brawling Brutes. I do not care about them. They're a win some, lose some team. I hate them. They suck. Carlito was backstage. He has his apple. He said being back is cool. Lashley interrupted him, said the last time he saw Carlito, he was beating him up. And Carlito said that was a long time ago. And Lashley agreed. He said, well, you know, since it was so long ago, how about you and me in my first match back? And Lashley said, well, look, man, I'm not even dressed for the occasion. And then the Street Profits attacked Carlito from behind. They beat the tar out of him before anybody did anything. But eventually officials and everybody came out there and helped them. So you didn't really get too much LWO on this show outside of them not being around when Carlito got beat up. But they magically were there when we came back from commercial. And Dragon Lee, who got a vignette tonight, he was among them. So I guess he's a member of the LWO now? Unofficially? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, Bayley was there, and she was yelling about something or other. And Zelina Vega was also there. And they got into an argument, to which Adam Pearce, a very stressed out Adam Pearce, by the way, decided to book them in a match against each other. Bayley won the match with the Rose Plant. And I was watching this match, and it wasn't that I actually like it. I kind of came to a conclusion while I was watching this. One, Zelina Vega is very small, which that's just factual information. But I think Bayley's heel turn has run its course. You know, I don't think we're getting anything more out of Bayley being a heel. I think it's time for her to be a babyface. Like, I was asking the question, like, when she turned heel in what, 2018 maybe? Was it 2019 or 20? She was certainly a heel in 2020, so maybe it was 2019 when she turned heel. It's been about 4 years. I don't think people hate Bayley anymore. I don't even think I think she's surpassed her peak annoyance phase too. When she was in 2020, 2021, I think she was peak annoying Bayley. And that's where she had probably the most heat, and she was doing her most effective heel work. I don't think she's really all that effective as a heel anymore. And I don't think that she's actually helping Damage Control. And to me, it's I know it's just basically I don't like Damage Control. Like, Mongo, you hate Damage Control. That's true. I do hate Damage Control. I really do. But it's not, I'm not saying this because I hate Damage Control. I'm saying this because I don't think Bayley has heat. You know, I don't think people hate Bayley. I don't think people even dislike Bayley. I think people have just gotten used to her being a heel now, and that's okay with them. And I'm saying, like, she could probably be useful now in this situation as a babyface, helping to put over or, to make a younger heel. She has enough respect where she might be able to work as a babyface. I just don't think we're maximizing Bayley in the heel role. She's a good heel, but I don't think that, or she needs to reinvent this heel role. And maybe that's what Damage Control was meant to do, was reinvent Bayley as a heel. But she was going to be like this heel authority figure, mentor. But it's not working. It ain't working. Anyway, Bayley won the match with, of course, some Damage Control interference. Charlotte Flair comes out there to save Zelina Vega because she always comes out there to save people. Charlotte Flair, my goodness. I wrote ugh right next to her name for obvious reasons. Nick Aldis took his first L tonight. Well, 2 L's. For starters, he didn't listen to Chelsea Green when she says, get rid of these damn cursed titles. We want new belts. She should have said that she wanted them to be wood grain or something like that. Maybe he would have listened. But she was talking about like leather or something to that effect. Then Nick Aldis said, well, Charlotte didn't lose the triple threat match, so she gets a title shot. Bro, I told you to your face that this was going to happen, didn't I? I told you to your face that they was going to do this, didn't I? And look what they done did. They done decided that Charlotte's the number 1 contender by virtue of not losing. Man, if they don't get this bullshit out of here, man. Come on. Anyway, Charlotte is like, thank you. Turns around and bumps into Jade Cargill. So Jade Cargill standing there. She got a nice little smile on her face, and Charlotte kind of stone-faced, and Triple H pokes his head in there, like, to introduce them, and it was like, okay, this is nice. The stand accounts went ape over this. They were crying emoji and star emoji, heart emoji, fire emoji, all the emojis. I mean, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was a great segment, just this part right here, not Charlotte getting a title shot. That sucked. But Jade Cargill just staring down Charlotte and actually looking somewhat respectful. It wasn't like a disdain or anything like that. So they're not showing that Jade Cargill is a babyface or a heel, but she is coming across as likable, because she's not doing anything negative. But they are showing her off like a prized piece of jewelry. Have you noticed my new piece? I call it Jade Cargill. Have you seen that? Yeah. It's like when your grandma got new furniture and she starts showing it off. Did you see my new couch? Don't sit on it. It's got the plastic still on it and everything. That's what Jade Cargill is. She still got the plastic on her. You can't touch it, but you can look at it. Don't put your fingerprints all over it. What are you doing? She still got that new car smell, but you can look at it all day. You can look. Don't touch it. Don't touch that thing at all. Why you keep showing me things when I can't have it? All right, so Triple H, aka Bald Asshole, he came out there. He came out to cut a promo because he had a special announcement. Special announcement, even though everybody knew what the special announcement was because the dirt sheet spoiled it. He said that Adam Pearce is the unsung hero of WWE. He's been stressed out because he's been doing a job of two people by himself. But he's not going to be doing that job alone. And in fact, he's going to get a promotion. Adam Pearce is now the general manager of Raw. But who will be the general manager of SmackDown? So Dominic Mysterio comes out there. How is Dominic Mysterio on SmackDown anyway? Does the North American title mean you can go anywhere you want? Because clearly he's not supposed to be on this show. And it seems very random for it to be Dominic too, by the way. Very random. So Dominic comes out there. They do the gimmick with the crowd booing him. They did a thing where they switched his mic to prove that his mic wasn't being turned down. And Triple H confirmed that people are really yelling at Dominic and they can't hear him. But Dominic's trying to talk about Fastlane and Judgment Day losing the tag team titles, and it's not a good idea for them to defend the belts tonight, knowing that, Judgment Day will have to wrestle them for the titles on Monday. Triple H says, well, you're talking to the wrong guy. I didn't make that decision. Nick Aldis did. So Nick Aldis is introduced as the new general manager of SmackDown. Dominic Mysterio and Nick Aldis have a short exchange, to which Dominic Mysterio gets dunked on. It's absolutely hilarious. Nick Aldis goes over there, introduces himself, says he's a big fan of. He says, "Your dad," and then turns around. So Dominic is pissed. So he's trying to introduce who the new acquisition of SmackDown is. The guy who came over to SmackDown from the trade, and it's Kevin Owens. Bubba Ray, Tugboat Owens. One Man Gang Owens, Kamala Owens, Shockmaster Owens. Oh my! I feel like Roman Reigns, man. My God, can we draft that guy to Ring of Honor? Oh God, Kevin Owens by himself. Ugh. Anyway, Kevin Owens gives Dominic Mysterio a stunner because Dominic was being very annoying. So the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn tag team has been broken up, and they've been put on separate islands. And here I thought they were going to do DIY versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, probably at WrestleMania or something. And they decided that they was going to separate Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Look, I think the tag team has run its course anyway. I can't say that them being the tag team champions again or working together worked. I think them losing on Raw was kind of it. So I'm okay with them breaking the team up in this way. And plus, I think Sami Zayn could be a very strong opponent for Gunther. Probably that's how I would use him personally. I think Gunther could probably get a lot out of feuding with Sami Zayn, especially if they're going to wrestle for the Intercontinental title at like Crown Jewel or something like that. Oh, that could be tremendous. You could get a lot out of Sami Zayn and Gunther. So that just means Kevin Owens got to go somewhere. Who cares? But he's got to go. He's got to ship off somewhere, okay? So they moved him to SmackDown. So the idea that they was going to bring over Cody, they decided not to do that. Which means that the only way for Cody to actually be able to come over to SmackDown and win the title from Roman, would mean he had to win the Royal Rumble again. So he's going to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles? There's going to be a contingent of the audience that's going to be salty about that. If he was to win the Royal Rumble, there are going to be people who are going to be salty about that. Now, you would say he could win the Elimination Chamber. Okay, but why would he even be in it? Shouldn't the Elimination Chamber be SmackDown only, guys? Or would it be he wins the Elimination Chamber as a tag team champion, but then he loses the tag team title on the road to WrestleMania? I guess that would be one way around it. But how do you put Cody back in the conversation to wrestle Roman without him being the guy that was going to be moved to SmackDown? Interesting. Well, I guess we gotta watch it play out. But I'm still sitting here like, I'm very interested. All right. Nick Aldis as the general manager of SmackDown. The general managers are back. I'm okay with it because now we actually have people making the matches, and you got to have people making the matches. You got to have an authority figure. I think wrestling shows work better when there's a central authority figure, somebody that you can blame for mistakes, and somebody who can help the heels or harm the heels. Both of them being baby faces right now is okay. I fully expect one of them to turn heel, probably Adam Pearce, because he's been a babyface the entire time he's been in WWE. Both of these guys have been NWA World Champion too, so I guess if you're NWA World Champion, you have an opportunity to be a general manager or a producer in WWE. Nick Aldis is a phenomenal talker. My only problem is there's a lot of accents on WWE now. Vince hated accents. I mean, y'all guys know that, right? Now you got an Irish guy on commentary. You got an English guy on commentary. You got another English guy who's the general manager. So many people with these accents and speaking roles on television. I know that ain't Vince's favorite. I can tell you that. It does make the company feel more global because you do hear more different dialects and different things like that. So the company feels more global. At the same time, the English, the British guys, they are not unintelligible. The Japanese wrestlers are. Some of the Spanish guys, like Dragon Lee's English. You know, Io Stride's English. You know, but there's a lot of different languages being talked now. Like a good 15% of Damian Priest promos are in Spanish now. Like randomly he starts, "Como con Dios, el Judgment Day. Vaya con Dios, all rise for the Judgment Day." He's like, what? Why are you speaking Spanish now? Whatever. I guess they're trying to push to be a global promotion. So Nick Aldis is a good pickup. Great guy. He has charisma. He can talk. He's going to make a good general manager. I know he said his wrestling days are not over, but if he's a general manager, his wrestling days are probably over. You know, his wrestling days are probably over. He is younger than most of the people in the title picture right now. He's younger than Cody. He's younger than Roman. He's about the same age as Jey Uso, I think. I think they're all like 35. So he's a very young guy. He's not old at all. Well, I shouldn't say very young, because very young would be like Braun Breaker. He's a younger guy. So he's like younger than the other top guys. So he's not quite like a beat up old horse. But maybe they're going to transition him into wrestling from this position. But it also means that there's an opening for general manager of NXT. And Cody said that he had another announcement for NXT. Now, it doesn't mean that he's going to be on NXT. But he said that he was empowered by Shawn Michaels to be the GM for one night. I think William Regal's year is up. I think he's going to resume being the general manager on screen of NXT. And you know what? It's about time. We've been waiting a while for the return of William Regal. He's synonymous with NXT, you know, and he's one of those things from the past that you can easily bring back in and use. And you could create some things with him and Charlie Dempsey that might be fun to people who don't know that that's his son. So you have a lot of opportunities there. When he left AEW, I think he told them he was going to be on screen for a year as they did the Blackpool Combat Club thing. And I think that year is up, if I remember correctly. If it's not, he needs to just go ahead and do it anyway, because what is Tony Khan going to do? He's already tweeting dumb shit at people. Go ahead and let him be mad. So bring William Regal back as the on-screen general manager of NXT. Of course, that begs the question, what the hell is Shawn Michaels? But we don't ask those kind of questions here. We don't care. Just bring back William Regal, all right? And let him be the guy who makes the matches and everything on NXT. Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, they already talking about competition too. So I'm guessing they're going to go back to the brand supremacy thing in terms of Raw versus SmackDown at Survivor Series. Now, do I think that they're going to do Raw versus SmackDown every match? No. I think they're probably still going to have the War Games match. But I think they're also probably going to have a traditional Survivor Series match. And it probably will be Raw versus SmackDown. They're going to come up with some kind of gimmick for it. If it's only one, okay. It's got to be one men's and one women's. But for me, the Survivor Series is about the Survivor Series match. In the mid-90s, the late 90s, I should say, when they moved away from the Survivor Series being about Survivor Series matches, that was very disappointing to me. And then there was a time where, they basically was going to get rid of it. So, look, I get it. Survivor Series don't draw. It's a bunch of tag matches, especially when they move away from the super teams. That aspect of it is what made Survivor Series work. And then they started putting singles matches on there. And, the world title is being defended, which, it should. It's a pay-per-view. But then they moved away from the super teams. When you had, the super teams was a really great time for Survivor Series. That was the only time Survivor Series felt important. But doing the brand supremacy, it works. I would not bring NXT into that. So brand supremacy works. Okay. But you have to create something. Like if you was to do something like in college football when they have those rivalries, I think I've mentioned it before on this channel. If I haven't, I'm going to mention it now. But in college football, like Michigan and Minnesota, when they play in college football, they play for the little brown jug. It doesn't mean anything. It's more of a symbolic gesture. But in college football, they have all these kinds of in-state rivalries and between state rivalries and stuff like that. And it creates a little bit of tension for the games. So I wouldn't say go Ohio State, Michigan. You can't create that with Raw and SmackDown. But if you create like a trophy or something like that, a bragging rights trophy or something, and the winning brand gets something, like they get more guys in the Royal Rumble or something like that, then that could work. This could actually become something. If it's just going to be for brand supremacy, you got to beg the question, why do the talent care? You can't even do like a hair versus hair match because Adam Pearce ain't got no hair. Anyway, you have to create something in order to make this thing interesting. So fine. But SmackDown was very good. People walked out of that thing with a lot of memes. We saw that they're starting something fresh here with Kevin Owens, who's probably going to end up winning the U.S. title and just being that guy on SmackDown. Jimmy Uso and Roman Reigns, they're doing stuff. LA Knight has been elevated. That's great. Jade Cargill, they poked her head in there. She likely won't be on SmackDown full time, but it ought to be interesting. So there's some interesting things going on. But it does beg the question, they've given SmackDown Dragon Lee, Carlito, and now Nick Aldis. What is Raw going to get? And also Kevin Owens, but, I guess getting a used teddy bear is worth something. But what is Raw going to get? Are they going to get somebody called up from NXT? Some new talent called up from NXT? Are they going to get like a new free agent or something? I don't know. But it's kind of begging the question right now. But let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you guys later. You know what to do. If you got this far, like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap.